Part 4. Let the battles begin. The empire of Sanheaven, now weakened due to three powers splitting from them, yet still led by their emperor Travis, decides to attempt to establish a diplomatic alliance with the state of Louisiana. Emperor Travis, sensing the potential for growth and stability in a strong alliance with the southern state, sends emissaries to negotiate a treaty of mutual protection and trade. The emissaries arrive at the capital of Louisiana, where they are received with great pomp and ceremony. Emperor Travis's reputation for wisdom and fairness precedes him, and the negotiations proceed smoothly. Over the course of several months, the terms of the treaty are hammered out. Both empires agree to respect each other's borders, refrain from engaging in hostile actions, and promote trade between their territories. In addition, Louisiana promises to assist Sanheaven in quelling the rebellions that continue to plague the empire. In return, Sanheaven offers protection against any external threats that may arise, as well as access to its vast network of ports and trade routes. The treaty is signed with great fanfare in the presence of both emperors, marking a historic moment in the history of both nations. As the ink dries on the parchment, it becomes clear that this alliance has the potential to reshape the political landscape of the known world. With Louisiana's military might and Sanheaven's economic prowess now united, they become a formidable force to be reckoned with. The state of Michigan is struck by severe winter weather. The signing of the treaty between Emperor Travis and his counterpart from Louisiana is a momentous occasion, but it does not stop the world from spinning. In the far-flung state of Michigan, severe winter weather strikes without mercy. Blizzards howl across the Great Lakes, blanketing the land in thick layers of snow and ice. Temperatures plummet to record lows, and wind chills make the air bite like a hungry wolf. The people of Michigan huddle inside their homes, shivering and praying for the cold to pass. The state's infrastructure is put to the test as roads and highways become impassable, stranding travelers and cutting off supplies. Power lines sag under the weight of ice, leaving entire cities in darkness. Schools and businesses shut their doors, and emergency services struggle to keep up with the influx of calls for help. In the midst of this crisis, however, the people of Michigan find strength in community. Neighbors band together to shovel snow, clear driveways, and check on the elderly. Local stores and restaurants remain open, providing warmth and sustenance to those in need. There are tales of heroism and selflessness as first responders risk their own safety to rescue stranded motorists and deliver medical supplies to hospitals. The state's government, led by Governor Gretchen Whitmer, works tirelessly to coordinate relief efforts and secure resources from both the federal government and neighboring states. The National Guard is mobilized, and emergency shelters are set up to house those who have been left homeless by the storm. The winter of 21-24 was one of the coldest and snowiest on record in the state of Michigan. The lakes were frozen solid, the snow drifts towered over cars and buildings, and the wind howled through the bare trees like a mournful symphony. In this harsh environment, the Ice Legion of the Great Lakes, led by their fearsome commander, Sir Frostbeard, began to make their move. They had been watching the state of Michigan for some time, noting its vulnerabilities and planning their attack. As the first flakes of snow began to fall, they struck, their icy armies pouring across the border and engulfing the unprepared population. The citizens of Michigan, unused to such extreme weather, were quickly overwhelmed by the relentless onslaught of the Ice Legion's elemental allies. Sir Frostbeard, riding atop his mighty ice elemental, led the charge, his cold, calculating gaze fixing on the capital city of Lansing. The elemental's icy breath fogged the air, freezing everything in its path, as it trampled through the snow, leaving a trail of destruction in its wake. The Ice Legion's infantry, made up of warriors clad in ice-encrusted armor, followed close behind, their weapons dripping with frost. The citizens of Lansing, caught off guard by the sudden invasion, tried to mount a defense, but their efforts were futile against the might of the Ice Legion. The elemental allies of the invaders, such as the Ice Trolls and the Frost Giants, tore through the city's defenses like they were made of paper, crushing buildings and soldiers alike with their immense strength. Sir Frostbeard, seeing the capital city within his grasp, dismounted from his ice elemental and led his army on foot, his sword held high. The citizens of Lansing, fearing the worst, began to flee their homes, trying to escape the merciless onslaught. Some managed to find refuge in the surrounding countryside, while others were not so lucky. The Ice Legion showed no mercy, pursuing them relentlessly, leaving a trail of frozen bodies in their wake. As the last vestiges of resistance were crushed, Sir Frostbeard declared the state of Michigan to be a part of the Ice Legion's empire. He appointed governors and generals to rule over the conquered territory, instituting a reign of icy terror that would last for generations to come. The elemental allies of the Ice Legion, now free from battle, began to work together with the local population, using their elemental powers to shape the landscape according to Sir Frostbeard's grand design. The Empire of Sunhaven decides to attempt to research robots. Emperor Travis, recognizing the potential benefits of incorporating robotics technology into his empire, makes the decision to prioritize research in this field. He assembles a team of the brightest minds in the realms, offering them vast resources and unprecedented autonomy to pursue their goals. The announcement of this ambitious project sends shockwaves through the scientific community, and researchers from all corners of the empire flock to Sunhaven's capital city, eager to be a part of history in the making. As work on the robotics project begins in earnest, a hive of activity fills the grand research facilities and laboratories. Engineers, programmers, and scientists collaborate around the clock, pushing the boundaries of what is possible. They experiment with various designs and materials, striving to create machines that are both versatile and efficient. Meanwhile, Emperor Travis maintains a close eye on the progress, occasionally visiting the labs to speak with the researchers and offer guidance. His support and enthusiasm for the project serve as an inspiration to all involved. As the months pass, the team makes significant breakthroughs, developing prototype robots that can perform a variety of tasks with astonishing speed and precision. The first successful robot, dubbed Sunbot, is unveiled to the public in a grand ceremony. It is a versatile machine capable of performing tasks such as construction, agriculture, and even medical procedures. The crowd is awestruck by its sleek design and impressive capabilities. Emperor Travis, beaming with pride, declares that Sunbot is only the beginning of a new era for the Empire. The Empire of Frostreach, flush with their multiple past victories and conquests recently, decides to invade and attempt to conquer the state of Maine. Led by their cunning general, Sir Blizzard, and their terrifying ice dragon, Icefung, the Ice Legion marches south, their forces consisting of ice trolls, frost giants, and other elemental creatures. They are met with stiff resistance from the brave soldiers of Maine, but the sheer size and ferocity of the Ice Legion's forces prove to be too much. The battle rages on for days, with neither side gaining a clear advantage. In the midst of the conflict, an unexpected ally arrives, the state of New Hampshire, led by their own recently recruited Ice Legion commander, Lady Winter, formerly an enemy and leader of the military of the state of New Hampshire. They have come to aid their fellow elementalists in their quest for domination. Together, they launch a coordinated assault on the main forces, driving them back and opening up a path for the Ice Legion to march forward. The Ice Legion, emboldened by this newfound support, presses on toward the capital city of Augusta. Sir Blizzard and Icefung lead the charge, their icy breaths freezing everything in their path as they crush through enemy lines with ease. The elemental allies of the Ice Legion, including the ice trolls and frost giants, follow close behind, using their immense strength to smash through fortifications and swat aside any soldiers foolish enough to stand in their way. Meanwhile, Lady Winter and her New Hampshire forces flank the enemy, cutting off any chance of reinforcements or escape. The main forces, overwhelmed by the sheer magnitude of the Ice Legion's might, begin to falter and fall back. As they retreat, they are pursued relentlessly by the elemental allies, who show no mercy even to those who surrender. The cries of the defeated echo through the frozen landscape as the Ice Legion continues its relentless march toward Augusta. The capital city, having heard of the approaching Ice Legion, prepares for battle, but their numbers are far fewer than the combined forces of the invaders. Sir Blizzard and Icy Fung, leading the charge, smash through the city gates with ease, their icy breath freezing everything in its path. The elemental allies of the Ice Legion follow closely behind, sweeping through the streets and squares, laying waste to everything in their path. Lady Winter and her New Hampshire forces, meanwhile, have successfully taken control of the strategic high ground around the city, raining down icy death from above upon the defenders. The main forces, demoralized and overwhelmed, begin to flee in all directions, seeking any escape from the relentless onslaught. Sir Blizzard, seeing the tide of battle turning in their favor, calls for a halt to the pursuit. He knows that it is now time to establish a permanent presence in the newly conquered lands. The ice trolls and frost giants, no longer needed for battle, begin to work together with the local population, using their elemental powers to shape the landscape according to Sir Blizzard's grand design. The city of Augusta, now a part of the Ice Legion's empire, is transformed into a frozen fortress, impenetrable to any future attempts at rebellion. The state of Alabama undergoes a magical surge. Unbeknownst to the Ice Legion, a group of powerful sorcerers from the old world have arrived in Alabama, intent on harnessing the magical surge for their own nefarious purposes. They begin to gather artifacts and summon creatures, preparing for a battle that will shake the very foundations of reality. Meanwhile, the people of Alabama are struggling to come to terms with the aftermath of the surge. The landscape has been transformed, with magical plants and creatures now populating the forests and swamps. Old traditions are revived, as shamans and witch doctors once more become important figures in society. The balance of power between the various tribes and settlements is shifting, as those who have embraced the magic of the surge rise to prominence. The influx of magic in Alabama attracts the attention of otherworldly beings, who begin to make contact with various individuals in the state, offering them strange bargains and promises of power in exchange for servitude. One such being, a malevolent entity known as the Shadow King, establishes a stronghold in the heart of the state's once thriving capital city. He begins to spread his influence, corrupting the land and its people with his twisted magic. His followers, a cult of fanatics who worship him as a god, terrorize the countryside, committing unspeakable acts in his name. Meanwhile, as the Shadow King takes full unopposed control over the state of Alabama, the Empire of Sunhaven decides to attempt to form a diplomatic alliance with the state of Mississippi. Emperor Travis, sensing the threat posed by the Shadow King's growing influence, sends out emissaries to the neighboring state, offering aid and protection in exchange for a mutual defense pact. The leaders of Mississippi, weary of the chaos spreading from Alabama and cognizant of their own vulnerabilities, agree to enter into negotiations. As the talks progress, tensions between the two states begin to ease. Representatives from both sides exchange knowledge and resources, forging a bond of trust and respect. Eventually, after many heated debates and delicate negotiations, a treaty is signed, sealing the alliance between the Empire of Sunhaven and the state of Mississippi. Meanwhile, the Empire of Frostreach decides to invade and attempt to conquer the state of Massachusetts. The elemental forces of the Empire, led by the legendary wizard Merlin, gather on the coastline, summoning a great storm to aid their invasion. The storm howls across the ocean, lashing the shore with icy winds and driving up waves as high as mountains. As the storm clears, the elemental forces of the Empire emerge from the sea, their numbers vast and terrifying. The citizens of Massachusetts, caught unawares by the sudden invasion, scramble to form a defense. The armies of the Commonwealth, bolstered by their own native magic, stand firm against the onslaught. Sir Lancelot, a knight of great renown, leads the charge against the elemental forces, his sword aflame with magical fire. His comrades, including Sir Galahad and Sir Gawain, follow close behind, their armor shining brightly in the sun. Meanwhile, Merlin, the wizard king of Frostreach, summons forth a colossal ice troll from the depths of the ocean. The monstrous creature towers over the battlefield, its icy breath freezing everything in its path. It begins to smash through the lines of the Commonwealth forces with ease, clearing a path for the elemental allies to advance. Sir Lancelot, seeing the threat posed by the ice troll, charges forward, his sword aflame with holy fire. The elemental forces of Massachusetts, under the command of the powerful druid Mordred, unleash a torrent of magical energy upon the ice troll, attempting to slow its advance. The battle rages on for hours, with neither side gaining a decisive advantage. Meanwhile, Merlin, sensing an opportunity, teleports himself behind the lines of the Commonwealth forces. There, he finds a group of mages and shamans gathered around a powerful artifact, the Amulet of Yender. He quickly seizes the amulet and uses its power to turn the tide of the battle. The elemental forces surge forward once more, with renewed strength and purpose. Sir Lancelot, feeling the weight of the amulet's absence, realizes that he must retrieve it at all costs. He and his companions, Sir Galahad and Sir Gawain, fight their way through the chaos of the battlefield, cutting down elementals and soldiers alike. They eventually reach Merlin, who stands tall atop a hill, the Amulet of Yender glowing brightly in his hand. The three knights charge up the hill, their steeds' hooves pounding the earth. Merlin, sensing their approach, raises his staff and begins to summon a wall of ice to block their path. Sir Lancelot, undeterred, leaps from his horse and dashes toward Merlin, his sword raised high. They clash in a duel of magic and might, each attempting to best the other. Sir Galahad and Sir Gawain dismount and engage the elemental forces that still threaten the Commonwealth. Their blades flash through the air, weaving a dance of death amongst the elementals. They are soon joined by Mordred and his druids, who direct their magic against the ice troll and its allies. The battle between Merlin and Sir Lancelot rages on. Each blow is matched by the other, and the air crackles with the unleashed power of their spells. Merlin tries to use his superior knowledge of magic to gain the upper hand, but Sir Lancelot's raw strength and determination make him a formidable opponent. Meanwhile, Sir Galahad and Sir Gawain continue their relentless assault on the elemental forces, their blades flashing like lightning amidst the chaos. They move with a grace and precision that belies their size, carving through the elementals with ease. Mordred and his druids, sensing the weakness in the ice troll's defenses, focus their efforts on the massive creature, unleashing a torrent of magical energy that slowly begins to wear it down. The duel between Merlin and Sir Lancelot reaches its climax as both men pour all of their strength and magic into their final blows. The air crackles with the unleashed power of their spells, and the ground shakes with the force of their impacts. In a flurry of motion, Sir Lancelot manages to disarm Merlin, sending his staff spinning through the air. Roaring with triumph, he raises his sword high, preparing to deliver the fatal blow. But before he can strike, Merlin reaches out with a desperate spell, summoning a ray of light that pierces through the air and strikes Sir Lancelot's sword, causing it to shatter into 1,000 pieces. The shockwave from the impact sends Sir Lancelot flying backward, and Merlin quickly recovers, leaping to his feet and dashing away from the fallen knight. As Sir Galahad and Sir Gawain continue their assault on the remaining elementals, Mordred and his druids finally manage to bring down the ice troll. The massive creature crashes to the ground with a thunderous roar, shattering into thousands of shards of ice. The surviving elementals, now leaderless, begin to disperse and retreat, leaving the battlefield in disarray. Merlin though still holds the Amulet of Yender, and thus, the capability to completely turn the tide of battle at a moment's notice in the favor of the Ice Legion, and even without that, backup is swiftly coming, backup that the state of Massachusetts is simply incapable of defending against, the full might of the Ice Legion. Meanwhile, Sir Lancelot, still clinging to life, manages to crawl back to his horse. He glares at Merlin, who stands tall and proud, the Amulet of Yender glowing brightly in his hand. His companions, Sir Galahad and Sir Gawain, are nowhere to be seen, having been separated from him in the chaos of battle. He knows that he must find them, and recover the amulet, before it's too late. Merlin though, calls his staff back to his hand, and puts on the Amulet of Yender. Sir Lancelot, feeling a surge of anger and determination, spurs his horse forward, charging toward Merlin once more. His companions, Sir Gawain and Sir Galahad, follow close behind, their horses' hooves pounding the earth in unison. As they close in on Merlin, they realize that he is not alone. Standing beside him is a group of figures shrouded in robes, their features obscured by shadow. They are the Druids of Avalon, the keepers of ancient knowledge and magic. Merlin, sensing the approaching danger, turns to face Sir Lancelot and his companions. He raises his staff and speaks a word of power, summoning a wave of energy that slams into Sir Lancelot's horse, sending it reeling to the ground. The impact throws Sir Lancelot from the saddle, and he lands heavily on the ground, the wind knocked from his lungs. Sir Gawain and Sir Galahad dismount, drawing their swords as they approach Merlin and the Druids. They are no strangers to battle, and they fight with a precision honed over countless years of training and experience. But they find themselves at a disadvantage here, facing not only Merlin, but also the Druids of Avalon. The Druids move with a grace and agility that belie their age, weaving a web of magic around the knights, slowing them down and confusing their senses. Merlin, seeing that Sir Lancelot is still alive, raises his staff once more and unleashes a blast of energy that engulfs the fallen knight. The force of the spell sends Sir Lancelot's body hurtling through the air, slamming into the ground with such force that it creates a crater. The impact shakes the earth, sending up a cloud of dust that obscures the battlefield for a moment. Sir Gawain and Sir Galahad, their eyes wide with disbelief, turn to face Merlin. They are no longer fighting against the Druids of Avalon, for they are too stunned by what has just happened. Merlin takes advantage of their surprise and launches another spell at Sir Gawain, sending him flying backward into a nearby tree. The tree is ancient and sturdy, but even it cannot withstand the impact. It topples over, crushing Sir Gawain beneath its massive trunk. Merlin's attention now turns to Sir Galahad, who is struggling to regain his footing. The Druids surround him, their movements graceful and eerily silent. They weave a web of magic that traps Sir Galahad in place, rendering him immobile. As Merlin approaches, he raises his staff once more and unleashes a final, powerful blast of energy at the young knight. The force of the spell engulfs Sir Galahad, sending him flying through the air in a shower of sparks and dust. When the smoke clears, Merlin turns to face the remaining members of the Round Table. The Ice Legion has arrived, their numbers overwhelming the few remaining soldiers of the state of Massachusetts. They march forward with determination, their eyes fixed on Merlin. The Druids of Avalon, satisfied that their task is complete, fade back into the shadows from which they came. Merlin, sensing the weight of responsibility that now rests on his shoulders, takes a deep breath. He looks out over the battlefield, surveying the carnage and destruction wrought by the Civil War. He knows that there is much work to be done to rebuild the kingdom, to heal the wounds that have been inflicted upon it. He turns to address the Ice Legion, his voice strong and clear. "Follow me, my friends. Together, we will forge a new future for this land. We will restore peace and prosperity, and ensure that the dark days of this war are but a distant memory. The task before us is great, but I have faith in you. You are the bravest and most noble of warriors, and I know that you will rise to the challenge. Together, we will create a kingdom that King Arthur would be proud to call his home."